And so we have to do something about that. And so starting in 2000, the German government massively encouraged people to accumulate private savings because they said, don't rely on the public pension system. It will not be able to, support you by as much. Because either, and this is a big debate in German policy, do you take away more from the young or do you give less to the old? And it's a nasty discussion because there are so many old people and they have a big share of the vote, right? And I feel, actually, I don't feel good about that. I'm part of this baby boom generation, and I think we should be much more compromising and say, look, folks, we had a good life, right? And we were able to save, but it's a big issue in Germany these days. So the working age individuals support children, but they do not support the elderly. So there's no, right? You do not. You feed your children, but you do not support the elderly. I know that in the country of Vietnam, ancestors, old people are very much respected, and this would be a no-go. But we're making the assumption that, when you're young, you have to save for retirement because you cannot expect anyone else to look after you. Okay. Agents do not leave bequests. So they feed their children when they're young, but when they die, they don't leave anything behind. Now, please note this is a perfect foresight model, so you know exactly when you die. This is, of course, super stylized because how many years do I have? 20, maybe a bit more, maybe 30, right? Now here we assume that people know exactly when they die and they eat up everything, they liquidate all their assets before their last day. We observe bequests, and a lot of bequests are by chance. People just die too early and then they have something to leave behind. We also observe bequests because people want to be remembered by their children, right? So you leave behind something because you want your children to be grateful to you. Now here we abstract from all these things and say, okay, people just don't leave bequests. So this is the structure, right? So this is what, in PRT, you have people born in PRT plus 1, they of working age, and then in PRT plus 2, they are old age. Now in PRT plus 1, you have the next generation, which is born in PRT plus 1, and their children in PRT plus 1, and work age in PRT plus 2, and old age in PRT plus 3. And then, of course, you have PRT plus 2, where children are born, they have working age, and then ... And you see, this is where the overlapping generations idea comes from. At every point in time, you have children, working age population, and retired people. Now, the great thing is about these models that you can vary the sizes of these generations. So you can do the following. You can say, suppose that this generation is very big. And that's exactly what we're going to do, right? So suppose you have a baby boom, and all of a sudden you have a lot of children, right? And these lot of children will become workers, and they will become a lot of retired people later on. So, what is the difference between the infinite horizon versus the OLG model? So, in the infinite horizon models, agents maximize utility of their entire dynasty, and agents leave bequests, and these bequests may be positive or negative. In the OLG model, agents maximize their own utility, given their limited time horizon, and agents leave no bequests. Now, there is something that kind of is like a compromise. When you introduce so-called warm glow bequests, agents leave bequests. But agents leave bequests because they want to maximize their own utility. So imagine Elon Musk's father in his final days meeting his son and saying to his son, Elon, I'm leaving you behind $1,000. And Elon says, Dad, thank you, but I'm a billionaire. Like, I don't need that. And Elon Musk's father says, yes, I know, but accept it nevertheless, because I feel better if I leave these $1,000, right? That's warm glow bequest, because you think it makes you feel better. Now, that's very different from the thing in the infinite horizon model, where the rational thing for Elon Musk's father would have been to leave behind whatever, minus 500 million, to say, look, you can cope with it. So here we might have warm glow bequests, but warm glow bequests have a different rationale. You leave something behind not because you want to make your offspring better, but because you want to feel better yourself. Good. Okay, so why is it important to understand the OLG model? Well, to understand the effects of demographic change and savings investment in the current account, to assess the desirability of international financial integration for a rapidly aging population, to understand the effects of macroeconomic shocks in an environment where agents have finite time horizon, to assess the strengths and shortcomings of alternative systems of social security. So overlapping generations models are very useful. And I learned that you did some of them with Michael Haliassos. So what do we assume? We assume that all individuals have identical preferences with constant intertemporal elasticity of substitution. Secondly, all individuals have the same number of offspring. Thirdly, the size of generation born in period T is NT. And the number of offspring per worker of age adult is NT plus 1 over NT is mu T plus 1. This thing is, if you ask Michael Haliassos how to pronounce this, he would say me, right? But the Americans pronounce it mu. So be it, right? So it's just, you have NT plus 1. This is the size of the next generation. This is the size of the parenting generation. So this is basically the number of offspring. We allow this to be a non-integer number. So it might be that you have 1.3 children. It might be that you have 0.7 children, right? Good. We assume that there's an exogenous labor income of working age adult in period T, which is YT. So we do not endogenize that. It's just something that, you know, the coconut example. You get a certain amount of coconuts as an income, and you don't affect it, and it doesn't change actually. Okay, so let's do some optimization. I mean, with 10 minutes left, let's roll up our sleeves and let me decide which whiteboard to choose. I think I'm going to walk to the right-hand side. So, now this is a cute little model, you will see, and I promise you, you learn a lot from it. So let me pull out my notes. So, agent born in period T minus 1 maximizes in period T. Now, please note, you're born in period T minus 1, and all you do during childhood is you eat the stuff that you get from your parents, and you put on the clothes that you get from your parents, and you play with the toys that you get from your parents. That's it, right? So you're kind of the... Yeah, you do what your parents tell you. You don't optimize. In period T, you start optimizing, and you optimize with respect to the rest of your life, which is this, and you now let me first talk about this thing, right? You consume when you're young, and you consume when you're old. So CTY is young age consumption of the generation born in period T minus 1. Actually, it's Y is young, but you're young adult, and O is you're an old adult. And here, let me first start with that thing. What is your consumption? Well, your consumption is your income minus the money that you set aside for retirement divided by the size of your family. Now, the size of your family is you and your children. Now, suppose that you're earning 100 chocolate bars, and suppose that you have 5 children, right? Then the idea is you get those 100 chocolate bars, and suppose you're setting aside 40 chocolate bars for retirement, make 60 chocolate bars left, and you divide that evenly with your kids